While many trainers, agents and breeders come from generations of racing blood, there are probably even more who don't. Brisbane trainer Chris Anderson is one of those, and while his training stable is tasting success week in and week out, just how does someone new to the game become a success?
And Elegant Composure's won the race from Private Secretary.
I've just worked so hard for this.
Mashani Bullet's in front though from Boom Boom Epic, and Mashani Bullet has defeated Boom Boom Epic and all two Hoi Ying.
And Colour of Money, although a little bit inconvenienced by the riderless horse, wins easily.
Chris, it's always great to hear from young up-and-coming trainers because it is a very unusual industry to be a part of, isn't it, the racing and breeding industry?
Absolutely, and look, for me personally, I've probably done it back to front to what someone who would normally come from a racing family do, and yeah, it's been remarkably hard, and I look back from when I first started and I think to myself, could I do it again? Probably not, knowing how hard it has been, but I've probably got to a stage now where I'm really starting to have some success and I'm getting some great support, and I love it.
Well, you are from a racing background, but you didn't really get into racing or training until a bit later on, but in some ways that's a really good benefit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. My uncle, my grandfather, my cousin were all trainers, and I went to Nudgee College, and I suppose it wasn't an industry that I was really promoted as far as my family were concerned to be getting into, and I look back now, a lot of people say it must be such a disadvantage for me, not doing it the way in which I've done it, but it's actually been the greatest advantage I have. It's, I suppose, not given me any preconceived ideas, and it's opened up a really, really big network commercially for me as well, which has probably allowed me to go from starting with one leased horse to now having 44 boxes on course at Eagle Farm.
Well, you also seem to have a great support from a lot of the Brisbane or Queensland racing industry owners, and you know a lot of the regulators and the club, people on boards and all those sorts of things, and that's a big part of it too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm so thankful for all those people giving me the opportunity to do what I do, and they could quite easily go and give their horse to a very well-known racing identity, but they've chosen not to do that, and the likes of Glenlogan Park, Element Hill, Mike Crooks, who owns all the Mashani horses, and just my only sort of individual owners who might own 5 and 10%, to be given their support, something that I'm very, very thankful for, and hopefully I can repay them all.
But also coming from a different business, you worked in the pub industry, the hospitality industry as well, and I guess it gives you a bit of a business background as well, which helps being a trainer, because a lot of trainers obviously start out right at the bottom, being the strapper and maybe a work rider, but without necessarily having business acumen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably my greatest strength. Got offered a job as a sales rep, selling beer. Got promoted and ended up becoming a national sales manager. It's taught me all those commercial aspects of business. And I suppose looking back upon that now, it really has put me in really good stead.
And you've had, when you look back, Elegant Composure, I guess back then, $16,000 trying to syndicate a horse. It is a lot of money in anyone's terms, but now you're looking at horses for a lot more.
Yeah, it's funny, I actually sent Steve Morley a text the other day, because I'll never forget the day we went and bought her from Steve's farm, and yeah, she was only 16 grand, and I was quite nervous about how I was going to syndicate, obviously, just having sort of begun my training career. And yeah, I suppose I've got to pinch myself now, having bought horses today or yesterday for 280,000, and those sort of amounts. It's I suppose I've come a long way in a very short period of time.
Where did you learn your hands-on horse sort of skills, I guess?
Oh, look, I've been really lucky. I spent time here with Go Waterhouse a few years ago. Spent a whole day with her picking yearlings and having to comment today. That was a wonderful experience, and I've tried to sort of place myself with a number of different trainers, and I've always wanted to go there, and I've always not been asked to be paid for the work I've done. I actually worked for free for about 6 or 7 years because I wanted to be exposed to all aspects of racing, and trainers were more willing to show me everything that was involved in a racing stable. So hard, yes, but starting to reap the rewards now.
Well, Chris, it's such an important part of a sale, isn't it? What do you look for when you see these horses in the pre-parade ring?
I suppose this is, to some extent, similar to race day, isn't it? So where horses are pre-parading in the enclosure, saddle on the back, jockey about to get on, and it's just, I suppose, seeing how they are coping with the noise and the heat and all those external factors, I suppose, come race day can make a significant difference as to how they perform ultimately. And as you can see behind us, they're generally behaving quite well at the moment. And I suppose the breeders do a great job as far as educating them to get here. But I suppose it's just that one little box you've got to continually look at and tick just to make sure they are doing what you want them to do ultimately.
Yeah, I guess, are you also looking at who's around and who's actually looking at them and thinking, please don't be on that horse, I want that one?
Oh, of course, that always comes into your mind, but I think effectively you've done your work leading into the sale, so I try and leave that out of my mind, out of my thinking, and confident with the people that I'm partnering with. Have also done the work, the vets have done their work, and I suppose it's just that one last look and that final check just to make sure everything's right.
Do you understand, as a trainer, a lot of horse people don't really get it, but I think you seem very good with your owners, that for an owner to come out and see the horse before the sale, I mean, I guess that's a bit of an incentive too. They feel kind of closer to it, makes them want it more?
Yeah, it does. Sometimes a few of them can get a little bit jittery and a little bit nervous to make sure that that's the horse they really want and they're really comfortable with. I'm very blessed. A lot of my owners now have given me the faith to go out and buy on their behalf, and we've done that at this sale, and I think we've picked up some really, really nice horses. So all in all, it's a great environment here at the Magic Millions as well. It's beautifully and relaxed. It's the right place to be for owners coming here, I suppose even first timers, to really enjoy.
Well, you've also been training horses in the famous Dado Tan Shinam colours, of course, saintly viewed, so you'd think those fabulous colours. And it's been a really good relationship, with Duncan Ramage, obviously, sending some horses up to you. But I think it's really great for owners, just watching some owners around the sales already, to be racing horses. Some of the horses you've bought are in partnership with Dados.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so thankful for Dados' support and Duncan Ramage's support for allowing this to happen, because I put the opportunity out there to some owners, and I actually was quite blown away with the level of support. And for an owner to be racing in such prominent colours is a huge thrill for them, and a huge thrill for me to be training them. And I'll never forget when I trained my first winner in Dados colours. I went home and I had to pinch myself, just because they're so synonymous, aren't they, with racing in Australia. And to be partnering them, I'll look back upon this and I'll be forever grateful.
Well, and looking forward to the horses that you've bought here in partnership, already, plus buying yourself your existing owners. But, Smart Missile, Done Deal, a beautiful Nakoni filly from Aquis, and they're very exciting horses, I guess, to have.
Oh, absolutely, and they're all very, very different, aren't they? And we were given a brief from various different ownership groups. Some wanted staying horses that require a little bit of time, whereas the Nakoni filly is going to be, we think, very precocious, and hopefully she can be here next year racing in the 2-year-old race. She was a real ball of muscle, as you know, and just a real athlete, and there was a heap to like about her. So yeah, 3 horses, all very different, but all sort of at the request of the owners and what they were looking for.
How open are you? I know you've had a lot of James Cummings horses stabled with you, which is again a great accolade for yourself to be trusted with such good horses, etc. But how open are you to the way that people might want horses trained, or listening to people about feeding them, or about how you actually work them? I mean, everyone's always learning, aren't they?
Oh,
it's interesting.
Absolutely, and it's funny, Caroline, being based on course at Eagle Farm, each year I'm generally getting a visiting owner. I've had Roger James, Clary Connors, obviously I've had Bart for a long period of time. It was funny, I'll never forget the day where obviously Bart's staff was sharing my feed room, and before going home I just went to make sure everything was locked up, and I saw Bart's feeding regime. So I had a good look around and I took the photo, and yeah, it was just, I look back now, and hopefully they don't mind me stealing that intellectual information, but yeah, I've got to pinch myself, and it's just great to be surrounded by those guys, especially throughout winter carnival time. And they all train so differently, they all feed so differently, there's no rules to how anything's done. And I suppose for me personally, I pick little snippets of information and the way that they do things, and I might choose to embrace that throughout the way I train as well. So it's great to be exposed to those guys, and I'm always willing or wanting to certainly take those interstate or overseas trainers on board at key times.
It is a great time to be training in Queensland, isn't it? I mean, prize money is on the up, and it's a great environment too. Absolutely.
We just heard of a recent prize money increase up here, so that's really, really positive. I think Queensland racing will now start to flourish. We've got a lot of stability moving forward. Eagle Farm's not too far away, so There is a lot of positivity, and people may say, look, our prize money isn't as great as what it is in New South Wales and Victoria, but our competitor set's certainly not as strong either. So hopefully there might be a few people out there watching thinking that their horse just can't measure up to Sydney or Melbourne status. I can think of a trainer, Caroline, that they can certainly send it to. But it's true, isn't it? Like, we don't have the opposition as to what they have, and you know, competing up here for some great prize money, I would encourage more breeders and more owners from, you know, the southern states to come up and partner me.